Hey, what's up everybody? Nate here from Out of the Basement, bringing you a brand new action figure review. Today we are taking a look at the Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah Giant Monsters All Out Attack Atomic Blast Godzilla from NECA Toys. Jesus, that was a mouthful. This is, of course, the brand new re-release from NECA. They've been slowly going through releasing the older Godzilla figures in new packaging. Unfortunately, no new accessories or anything like that, so it is virtually the same figure, but now you get this awesome box. So on the front right here, you can see a beautiful picture from the actual film. I'm assuming this is probably a poster or something like that. This is one of my favorite Godzilla movies. It's definitely a super interesting concept. It's basically one of the few times where Godzilla is evil yet again, and he's possessed by the spirits of all of the people who died during the atomic bomb drop in World War II. And Mothra has to team up with Ghidorah and some other Godzilla favorites to actually combat him. Really unique, interesting premise. And of course, the design of Godzilla in this movie is super dope. But enough about that. Here is the package. On the side, you get the same image again with the Godzilla 65. Godzilla is 65 this year, that old, beautiful man. On the back, we've got some promo shots of the figure. And like I was saying, there's the bio, which is the movie description pretty much. So you can go ahead and pause it right there if you would like to read it. On the side as well, the same thing. On the top, the title again. And on the bottom, not a whole lot going on. So let's go ahead. We're going to get this figure open, take a look at the accessories, the backdrop, and then the figure itself. And here is the backdrop for the figure, a nice, beautiful mountain. And Godzilla comes with just one accessory, and that is this atomic blast effect, similar to the 1954 Godzilla. Although this one is actually a nice, cool, translucent blue plastic with some nice white paint on it. Similar in concept. This one is a little bit more bendy. It does have the bendy wire in it. And this one actually plugs into Godzilla's mouth, which I will show you once we take a look at the figure. But yeah, nice sculpted details. The paint apps look really good, and it looks exactly like an atomic blast. Can't really complain. And of course, do not forget, heat the tail up before you try and stick it on. Big peg, small hole. Just do it. All right, and here is Atomic Blast GMK Godzilla out of the packaging. And man, this figure looks fantastic. I never got the original release of this figure, of course. I missed the boat on the initial release, so I 100% was determined to pick this one up, especially because the movie was just so damn awesome. I hope maybe one day NECA will give us a non-Atomic Blast version of this Godzilla, but until that day, this figure will do just fine. So we're going to go ahead, take him off the stand, and take a closer look. Okay, so the first thing I'll show you guys is how this plugs in. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but there is a plug in the back of his mouth, and you just go ahead and stick that in there, and there you go. My copy, his jaw is really loose, and overall this is one of the loosest Godzilla figures I've ever gotten, which is kind of strange, but not so bad. I'm not too upset about it, but let's take a close look at the details here. Let me pop this out of his mouth now. Fits in there really snug, super tight, so it's not really gonna fall out. So you can see right off the bat that this Godzilla is a lot different from every other Godzilla in that his eyes are pure white. That is because he is, again, possessed during this movie, which I think just makes Godzilla look terrifying. This is probably one of the few times where I genuinely think Godzilla looks actually very scary and not just kind of like a cute lizard that I want to give a hug to. But he also features this wonderful paint deco on the entire figure, this nice blue paint effect and then a lighter blue around the jaw. And the teeth are actually blue as well, and even on the inside of the mouth, it's all blue. We get tons of blue paint. And I like, too, on the neck here, it's more of a metallic. Same thing on the chest and a little bit further down on the legs. You can see that it is a metallic style paint, and the shading looks really good. Has a nice mix of white light blue and some dark blue running through the figure. It's on the arms as well. It's pretty much everywhere on the front of the figure. Of course, down in some other spots, you're not going to get any of that. For the most part, the paint application is fantastic and it looks really good. And of course, the sculpted details are absolutely wonderful. NECA knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to sculpting Godzilla figures. And you can see moving down, even on the toes and everything are painted and they look so good. Same thing with the hands as well, which again, just like the other Godzilla I reviewed, they are kind of sharp. So you might want to look out there. Taking a look at the back of the figure, oh man, look at these spines. These spines just look so damn good. It looks like a nice blue treat or something. Just looks very appealing. The light metallic style of the paint mixed with the dark blue, the light blue, it almost gives it like a silvery look, which I honestly can only describe as damn delicious. And you can see he also has tons of paint on the back of the figure right here. Unfortunately, it kind of ends on the tail there, and there's not really, well, it's all painted. The entire figure, like every Godzilla, is painted from head to tail, but you can see that the blue paint ends right there, and you don't get really much more after that. But I think there's plenty of paint on this figure to justify the look. Of course, I didn't mention this in my other Godzilla review, but I should have. The spines are also nice and soft on this guy, so you're not going to have to worry about going, ow, ow, these spines hurt. These ones don't hurt. They're nice and soft, but of course that means that they are more likely to bend and break at some point, so just be careful with them. Treat them like the small Godzilla that he is. So yeah, the sculpt work and paint application on this guy is a big positive in my opinion. Love the way he looks. So now let's take a look at his articulation. So for this Godzilla, like I mentioned earlier, his jaw can close all the way and it can open very far. He does have a ball joint at the head right here, and then another one at the neck right here. The way this Godzilla figure is designed, though, he is looking down a little bit more than others, but you can get some nice range out of the head, and the joints do work together, so you can really get him to look down really far. Look at how far down he can look, and he can look up an okay amount as well, but man, this joint is stiff. Okay, don't break him, don't break him. All right, there we go. We're back up top here. On the side here, the arms can move out all the way, and of course they rotate all the way around. He has single jointed elbows that work pretty well. There you go, you kind of get full range right out of there, but man, his joints are stiff, so be careful. His wrist is hinged and it can rotate as well, and his fingers are also hinged, so you can get them to be closed all the way or open, however you like. He does have an ab crunch, although it is pretty much non-existent. Doesn't really go forward, doesn't really go back. Kind of just wiggles around, and you can get that rotation if you want. The legs can move out a little bit, but it is pretty stiff. And for this Godzilla, the single jointed knees are absolutely frozen on my copy. Even when I hit it with some hot water, it was still freaking me out, so I just didn't want to press it, and I'm just gonna let it go. But like I said in my other Godzilla review, I'm not really trying to put my Godzillas in crazy dynamic poses, so it's absolutely fine with me that the articulation is just okay. The feet can move down just a little bit and can move up just a little bit, and he does have some ankle pivot as well. And for the tail, you get the rotation. It is on a ball joint right there and right there, although that one is pretty stiff. And then right here on the end, which is the tail piece that comes separate, you get plenty of range out of that. And the tail, of course, is bendy, so you can bend it any way you'd like. It does end up looking a little awkward right here on this Godzilla, but once you get him into a decent pose, you're probably not going to really pay attention to this part of the tail anyway, so I don't think that'll be a big deal to most people, myself included. So now we're going to go ahead and compare this Godzilla to some other Godzilla figures, as well as some other figures in general. Here he is next to the NECA Shin Godzilla, the Atomic Blast version, and the 2019 King of the Monsters Godzilla. Then we have these old Bandai soft vinyl hollow figures. We've got Burning Godzilla and Gigon. Then we have the Bandai Robot Spirits Gypsy Avenger and the NECA Gypsy Danger. And then here he is with my last two reviews, that being the 1954 Godzilla from NECA and the Ultimate Michael Myers from Halloween 2. So yeah, overall, I am completely happy with this Godzilla. Of course, the articulation is just okay. And maybe one day NECA can include some small buildings or something else just to spice up the Godzillas, to give them a little bit more value. Of course, this one is a little bit more eccentric than most. It has a ton of paint apps, and the atomic blast is also painted as well. But I don't know, I think it would be really cool if NECA made some like smaller building style stuff for their Godzilla line, since they do so much for Godzilla. And hey, maybe we could even get a Mothra from this movie. I know they said they'll pretty much never do a King Ghidorah, but you know, maybe one day they'll actually do it. I think if you don't have this Godzilla, it's definitely a must. It's one of the more unique designs of Godzilla in my opinion. I just find the white eyes of this version so terrifying and striking. Now I pass the question off to you. Are you guys going to pick this one up, or do you already have it? Let's talk about Godzilla in the comments down below. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like on it. Subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about action figures, movies, and Blu-rays. So if any of those things are interesting to you, make sure you hit subscribe. Share this video with all of your Godzilla loving friends. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Nate from Out of the Basement, and I will see you guys next time.